All roads lead to inflation. We've seen some of the biggest names in finance come out in support of Bitcoin recently, and the underlying message is very clear. The US is facing an accelerating debt burden, and inflation is the only way out. This isn't just me saying it, it's straight from Paul Tudor Jones himself. Take a look at this clip from yesterday. He was live on Squawk Box with Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Given all of the things you're saying, are you off buying gold and Bitcoin and
I think all roads lead to inflation. We're going to end up, but
does all roads lead to inflation? Therefore, gold is a good investment. Is Bitcoin a good investment to you?
I'm long gold. I'm long Bitcoin. I think commodities are so ridiculously underowned. So I'm long commodities. I think most young people find their inflation hedges via the NASDAQ. That's also been great. It's probably some combination. I probably have some basket of gold, Bitcoin, commodities, and NASDAQ, something like that. And I would own zero fixed income. If I had my cash, it'd be very short term. The playbook to get out of this, you see it in Japan right now. They have 2% inflation, 30 basis points overnight. They don't want to raise rates. The playbook to get out of this is that you inflate your way out.
So Stanley Druckenmiller is short U.S. Treasuries and incredibly bearish on fixed income. And you just heard Paul Tudor Jones say that he's long Bitcoin and gold and has zero sovereign debt in his portfolio. Why? Because both of them see the exact same writing on the wall. Prolonged currency debasement is the only way to service the U.S. debt load. Let's look at the data. So the U.S. national debt recently rose above $35 trillion, and it is growing fast. Not only that, it's accelerating. The Congressional Budget Office projects that it will rise to over $50 trillion by 2033. Of course, we know that that figure will probably be closer to $60 trillion, given the fact that it is accelerating. At the same time, inflation remains stubbornly high. Consumer price index is still hovering at 2.5% year over year, still 50 basis points above the Fed's long-run target of 2%. So this combination of rising debt and persistent inflation signals one thing: more debasement ahead, particularly when you consider the fact that our interest expense at $1.9 trillion by the end of this year, on an annual basis, is now the largest line item above national defense spending on the Treasury's balance sheet. So Paul Tudor Jones didn't just hint that debasement is the only way forward. He literally said it outright. The U.S. is going to inflate its way out of debt. And if you're not positioning yourself with assets like Bitcoin and gold and other commodities, you're going to get left behind. PTJ is long both, and Druckenmiller is betting against sovereign debt for a good reason. But they're not alone. Ray Dalio also considers Bitcoin alternative money and has been saying for years that cash is trash. Howard Marks puts Bitcoin and gold on equal footing. Bill Miller is a big fan of Bitcoin, and even Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, who now manages $11.48 trillion in assets, is shilling Bitcoin these days. Every major investor, every famous investor that you know, well, at least the vast majority of them, are shilling Bitcoin. For very good reason. Debasement is the only way forward. Meanwhile, of course, Warren Buffett, the old guard at 94 years old, still hates Bitcoin. Of course, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett have called Bitcoin rat poison squared. He may be one of the greatest investors of all time, but in this case, he's completely out of touch with where the future is headed. The rest of these finance giants see Bitcoin as a hedge against the U.S. government's growing debt problem and the fact that inflation is the only way out. The takeaway is simple. We're seeing a significant shift in investor sentiment. Long Bitcoin, short sovereign debt. With inflation set to accelerate and the national debt continuing to balloon, the only way to protect your wealth is through assets like Bitcoin and gold. There's nothing more that you need to know. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, make sure that you follow me on LinkedIn if that's where you're watching it, and share this video around. It always helps. And also check out Theia. It is the world's simplest Bitcoin self-custody solution, now available on web at app.theia.us. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you later.